It began with a coin, a silver coin he tossed in the air again and again. Its shimmering gleam and metallic ring were the last things I remember from the life I had before that day. My name is Reverend Arthur Lawrence, and this is the story of how I became a prisoner of my own mind, committed a terrible crime, and embarked on an escape from which there was no return. The foggy morning of October 12, 1911, in Pennsylvania, breathed with the peace I so desperately craved. At 66, you learn to cherish these quiet moments. I kissed my wife, Margaret, goodbye, her cheek as soft as it was 40 years ago, and stepped out, determined to reach Allentown, where a great church revival awaited me. The road was painfully familiar, the children skipping stones on the pond, their joyful shouts, the welcoming waves from neighbors. It was all part of a familiar ritual, but today something was wrong. I caught stares that were too intense and felt an inexplicable anxiety gripping my heart like an icy finger. And then I saw him, Silas Morgan, the town drunk and outcast, a man with a reputation for being unpredictable and dangerous. He was galloping straight toward me, his long coat flapping in the wind like the wings of a bird of prey. A wide, unnatural smile was plastered on his face, and in his hand glinted that very silver coin. "Reverend," he shouted, riding so close I could smell the cheap whiskey. "Mind if I join you?" Everything inside me clenched. I, a pastor with an impeccable reputation, was repulsed by his mere presence. But duty and feigned politeness won out. "Of course, Silas," I replied, and that moment became my fatal mistake. He didn't stop talking for a second. His questions were intrusive, personal, digging into me like needles. "Where are you headed, Reverend? How many parishioners are waiting? Is the church in Old Millbrook still under your care?" I answered automatically, feeling my willpower dissolving under his heavy gaze. And then he took out the coin again. Click, gleam ring, click, gleam ring. The rhythm was hypnotic. The world around me began to swim. Colors turned dull, and Silas's voice became a distant hum. I was as if in a dream, paralyzed and helpless. It was in this state that I bought him a hatchet at the roadside store. It was in this state that I agreed to turn off the road and go to my own church in Old Millbrook. My body no longer belonged to me. Entering the empty, cold church, I lit the furnace, driven by some vague automatic memory. The flames crackled, casting giant dancing shadows on the walls. And then Silas stopped in the middle of the hall. "Raise your hands, Reverend," he said, and his voice cracked like a whip. My body obeyed on its own. My arms flew out to the sides like those of the crucified Christ. A terror, cold and piercing, finally broke through the veil of hypnosis. At that moment, the coin Silas was tossing fell to the floor and rolled across the stone slabs. The spell was broken. The realization that I, a man of the cloth, had allowed this man to mock me so, triggered a blind, animal rage. I saw the hatchet I had bought for him. The last thing I remember is his eyes, wide with horror, and the overwhelming silence, broken only by the crackling of the fire in the furnace. I came to my senses in another state, in a cheap boarding house, wearing his clothes, with his identification in my pocket. But his voice, that same hypnotic whisper, was now in my head. It was with me everywhere, and I knew there was only one way to silence it. When the maid found me in the outhouse with my throat slit, there was a letter in my pocket, a confession, not of murder, of liberation. I didn't kill Silas Morgan. I killed the demon in my head, and that was my final, desperate sermon.